We promote as best we can through, I'd say mainly now social media, because we can't afford many other ways to promote, flyering at gigs, and we tour a lot, but now I've cut back on our touring because personally I don't see it being the best solution for us. We do our headline gigs in London, which we can sell out. And we've done lots of tours of the UK, and sometimes you'll play to 10 people, sometimes you'll play to 200 people. And I think we got to the point where we realised it wasn't really a suitable process for us to continue. Head obviously support slots are really essential for a band like us, gaining access to other bands' fan bases and connecting with people. And I just think currently the situation of people being unwilling to spend a lot of money on entertainment, certainly the lower end acts, there are a lot of bands in the lower end category, so bands that you'll spend £7 to go and see, and the bands that you spend 30 to 50 are selling out their venues, and people have talked a lot about live music being the way forward, but actually for a band of our size that's really not correct for us. So how will I maintain a living in music? With great difficulty. Some of our live fees have gone up this year. We've taken less festivals, but higher paid festivals. We've taken some corporate gigs, and this has been a way that we've managed to survive a bit more. We've cut down on our touring, so our expenses are lower, but just taken gigs we really want to do, or gigs that we feel are going to be well paid. And also, which we're talking about anyway, the copyright. So writing for me is the only way I can foresee myself surviving in the future. So I now write with various other people. I co-write with people. I'm writing a solo album while continuing with my band. I've got a publishing deal for one of our albums, and I co-write with people on my publishing label. And I think just I'm very realistic about the future of music and my future in music. I want to keep doing it. I absolutely love doing it, but I realise it's going to be a struggle to survive, and I'm going to probably have to do other jobs while doing it. Okay.
Thanks, Tamara, very much. One thing that's very striking in your presentation was the very high level of dedication and commitment, as well as a range of skills, organisational, communication, negotiation, that you need to simply survive in the industry. Very, very impressive. Okay, this is the chance to open it up to questions. Please.
Can I ask, have you explored this sites like Just Giving? I see a lot of young artists are now trying to get projects funded that way, and it's amazing how you, again, reach a different group of people that you would never really be in contact with.
Yeah, I've basically decided for our next album that I'm not going to use any more money from our label and try and build up a slush fund that we can actually use for future. So the only way we're going to do our next album, if we can't get funding elsewhere, is through something like Just Giving. And we've got quite a strong fan base, so we will get the money together. It might take a while though to do that.
I mean, it's a very good example of how technology is changing the way that people interact with others, and it's no longer a geographical thing like touring is. It could be anybody around the world. I think it's a brilliant example of how we have to adapt, I think, to those opportunities. It's kind of interesting.
So can I just add, Just Giving, is that like a microfinancing initiative, or?
Yeah, basically you can go on and present yourself in a video and say, I want to film my next album, here's a clip of one of the songs I would like to record. And then you set a funding target on this, and people contribute 10, 15 pounds, and it has a sort of snowball effect. And actually when you log on the site, you can see the things that are maybe close to hitting their target, and you think, oh, wouldn't it be good, my 15 pounds could really make that happen, or whatever. I think that's...
And it's just a donation, it's not...
Yeah.
So if you go on to the Multi-Million...
Well, you can donate in different ways. You can donate so you pay up front for your album, so you can pay £10, that would go towards the album. You can donate and get your name on the album, appear in a video, private gigs, so you can vary all the funds that you receive.
Gift.
Yeah.
I mean, Tamara's already well down the road, but just following on what you just said, Michael, I mean, the range of professionalism in the applications we receive for recordings, let's just stick to recordings for the moment, and for new work, and for commissioning new work, varies enormously. From incredibly naive, essentially we'll have a pop, to ready for market. Business is ready to be done, and take us seriously, because we are serious about what we do. And there's a huge range between entry level, and we will, and I know that other organisations will give a lot of help and support. PRS Tamara mentioned in ensuring that you're as professional as you can be in the way you present your product.
So I was going to ask two questions in response to that. One of them is, quite often those naive or very early things have the potential, and it's the question of how you help them make, what facilities are there to help them develop. And secondly, I've seen this through the Arts Council of Northern Ireland, where they keep getting applications for people to buy equipment to make their own recording, and when you add all, it's a vast sum of money, and surely there's a better mechanism for doing this. It's more cost effective.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. We don't do that.
It's
Well, I'm interested in the product.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the seminar is taking place at a time, I think, where there's a lot of recognition for the role of creativity in driving the wider economy, and there really is a desire to try and promote lots of creative activity, but clearly there are questions to be asked about how effectively the policy regime is doing that. And I just wondered, I mean, obviously one of the routes is through subsidies, and another is through trying to create.
It's not a subsidy. It's not funding. It's an investment. What we're doing is investing in that artist and in their business, in their creativity.
Is it an investment that they have to pay back?
No.
Okay.
We can introduce recoupment now. If we feel, I've got one recording where we are involved in a recoupment deal because it's a very, very high profile artists, and they have private investment. So the deal they are doing with the private investors, they're doing with us.
But otherwise, no strings attached.
No.
Excellent.
Yes, well, you're very right to say there will be a payback from it. But the copyright regime is supposed to work in this, is similarly part of, I mean, it's supposed to be a mechanism for encouraging creativity. So I just wondered whether you would have anything to say about, what sort of intervention, either in the copyright regime or more broadly, do you think, might be more effective in terms of encouraging more creativity, widening access to opportunities to monetize your creativity, to use an ugly word? Can you see anything obvious in terms of what could be done in addition to the current regime, or what needs adjustment?
For funding or for copyright, do you mean, sorry?
Just to make you be able to run a creative business more effectively.
I think, for example, in Canada, the government fund artists, and that's something that obviously Creative Scotland are doing that, but I think there's not enough, not just music, there's just not enough funding for the arts, and people don't respect the arts in the way they used to. They see a musician or a dancer, a lot of the time will be asked to go and play for free. They just think that's absolutely fine to expect you to go and perform and everyone to enjoy you without paying you a penny. And I think a lot of people end up at a certain age giving up because they don't see any future, and they realise that they can't survive doing it. So I think obviously there's going to be lots of people that aren't actually good and they want to succeed, and the people say, oh, the cream rises to the top, but that's not always the case, and I think it's important to fund acts when they're developing. And we've had to get to this point where labels they've always been interested in us, but now we don't necessarily want to sign to a label because we want to do what we're doing. So you need to be able to fund an act that knows what they want and has a target audience, and it may not be massive, but then at least they can survive doing what they do, because people downloading music at the moment mean that there is not much of a chance of anyone recouping much of the money unless they're a really big act, and even then I think they struggle. So.
It seems the conversation's moved on from kind of assignment of copyright to exploitation of copyright, and I don't know of any public funding initiative that's helping artists to retain their copyright, because at the moment, the kind of traditional system of record companies is you assign that copyright to a third party which exploits it and gives you back 10% of your actual copyright for a period of 25 years or so. So whatever copyright regime has been in the past, it's not been successful, as has already been said, to most artists and people like Tamara, example of that. So I wonder how much the project that's thus far, which I'm learning about today, has talked about the exploitation of copyright on behalf of the performers and authors, rather than the third parties it tends to be.